Start the recording. So what I just wanted to talk about some things. Tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time is going to be our live What is Coaching event. So I myself and 4 or 5 coaches are going to be hosting that, and it doesn't matter if you're not hosting it, you can invite anybody to it. So the event is made. I shared that in the team page today. Just invite people. But also not just inviting people, make sure that you send a private message to anybody that you've either thought about making an awesome coach or people that have not been ready to coach in the past. But the private message makes such a big difference, because think about how many things you get invited to for unique or this or that, and you just like, no, ignore. So make sure that you're taking the time to reach out and send private messages to invite. We also have another one on October 20th. So we're doing 2 this month. So just make sure that you mark your calendars. That will also be 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So next week's, let me see if it's next week's call. The 20th, I'm in November. October 27th, that team call. I was going to have Becca Robinson host, but actually she was reaching out to Joel and Jericho from the Court of Force, and he was finally got back to her, and he's going to host her call. So she just invited us to hop on with her. So that's really exciting. So we'll get to actually talk to him and hear him talk about Court of Force just a few days before it launches. So that is October 27th. I'll get the date for sure. I want to say it's 8:30. And then let's see what else. October 24th, mark your calendars for the live Beachbody On Demand Court of Force. The sneak peek is going to come back. So we got it just for that one day, and make sure you remember that we're going to get it again for that day. We are running our Court of Force prep group, so we're going to make sure that we remind them to get in on that. And you can also, October 24th, Danielle, and you can also make a live event if you want to invite people, and then invite them to sign up for BOD, and then, get started and try it out that day as well. So if you do want to do an event, maybe think about making that next week so you can talk it up, share some before and afters, things like that. And then also a big announcement I was kind of thinking about, I was asking in our Diamond group today who would host some calls in November, because with baby supposed to be here November 12th, I just want to make sure that I have everything taken care of. So we are going to actually switch to having calls every other week, and that's going to be going forward. And I just think that will be really great, because I feel like I'll be able to give more every other week instead of every week. And then your Diamond upline, if it's not me, often does their team call. So it's hard to do their team call plus my team call plus, a sneak peek plus this and that. So I just wanted to kind of make it a little easier for everybody to know what's going on. And so it's going to be every other week starting November 3rd. So November 3rd and 17th will be our team call nights in November. And I'm actually going to have one of our Diamonds host those. I know Molly is doing the 17th. I'll keep you posted about the 3rd. So that is basically I'm getting plans and planning my challenge groups and everything for November. So if you want to be a part of our November challenge group, if you don't have one and you want to join mine, I am enlisting people to help with posting, because I just want to make sure that I have everything covered, because who knows when the baby will be here, and I want to have everything squared away. So all right, so that is basically all the housekeeping stuff that I have, I believe. If you guys have any questions, just post in the chat. So we have Ashley Smith hosting tonight, and she is in my 6-star mastermind group that we deal with the East region. And so Craig is my corporate mentor, and we get on a Zoom call every Monday. And so it's a really, really awesome opportunity to be able to pick each other's brains. So she is a 9-star Diamond currently. She's 2-star in her 2nd business center. She's Diamond in her 3rd business center, and she's on the Atlanta Market Council. She's number 12 in the freaking company. That is so freaking awesome. Good job for you. And then our rankings come out again on Friday. So we'll see how we are doing and how she's doing. Her team is the Inspiration Crew. She's an SC10 All-Star, and next month she'll be an SC10 Legend. So she is absolutely rocking her business, and she's going to be talking about her 6 best tips for growing her team. I believe I didn't write that down, but I know it's 6 tips. So make sure that you're taking notes. This is going to be golden. And if you have any questions for her, just post in the chat, and then she can get to those at the end. So it's all you. Go ahead, girl.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys. Okay, so like April said, my name is Ashley, and I'm excited to be talking to you guys today. I just hosted this similar call a couple weeks ago for another team, and they found it really valuable. So hopefully it'll reach you wherever you need it to. So I am going to be sharing. Let me see if I can screen share. Oh, I just lost our Zoom call. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and I can share this PowerPoint as well after this if you guys would like that, if that would help you. Can you guys see that? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Okay, cool, awesome. All right, so these are my top tips to basically just success in the business, what I have done to get my business where it is, and what I preach to my team, and what I help mentor so many coaches to do. So basically sharing all my dirty secrets about how I got where I am with you guys. So you're lucky. Okay, so top tip number one is, let me minimize this. Okay, there we go. Top tip number one is invite people into your journal. So what I mean by that is what I do a lot of in my business is talk to people like my pages are a piece of my journal entry or my diary, or, whatever you want to call it. And so for me, I want people to know who I am, and I want for them to come to my page and feel like they're getting a little piece of my life every single day. And so I constantly talk to my team about that, saying, okay, I want for you guys to let people into your journal. I want for them to feel like every time that they come to your page, it's like they're opening a new page of your day and what's going on. You don't want to be selling products. That's not what we're here for, right? We're not selling products and selling things. You are selling your lifestyle. You want people to see what Beachbody has done for every single aspect of your life. And so, whether that's, when somebody comes to my page, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, my Snapchat and Instagram stories, people are coming and they know what's going on. They know what's been going on in my family and in my home life, and in, what kind of day I'm having with Hudson, or how I'm feeling, or what I'm eating. They just know who I am. And so that's the number one thing that I constantly get as a reminder from, that when I'm doing a good job, and maybe when I'm not, is when I get messages from people that say, I just feel like I know you. Like, I feel like I could be your friend. That just kind of shows them a little bit of you really constantly showing up every single day, just being real, being you, but also just kind of sharing as if it were a journal entry. I talk to that one person. I don't say you guys, or hey girls, or hey y'all. I'm talking to that one person, that one. My target market is very much, before I started coaching, I was a teacher, and I was newly married, and then I got pregnant. I built pretty much my entire business in those first 8 months as a pregnant teacher. And so, my target was very much that kind of, woman, somebody who was working full time, or somebody maybe who wanted to start a family. But now it's moms, is who I connect with now that I have a child. And so, every single post that I make, is talking to that one person, that one woman who's on the other side of the screen, or wherever she's looking at my stuff from. And she's just getting to flip through. You can almost see that image of somebody flipping through your journal, and they can literally scroll your page, and it really feels like they're getting to piece together what's really brought you to where you are constantly, no matter when they come to your page. So that's really, really important. Okay, and I have some examples as we go through, so hopefully y'all can see that. So again, these are just kind of some things that I have posted that is just like letting people into my life. That left picture, my husband was helping me with, stuff with the business, and Hudson, my son, had torn apart the room, and it was just real life. People a lot of times see me at my desk, and it might look all neat and nice, but it's fun for them to see how nasty, crazy it is behind that one little small picture, The one in the middle, that one reached so many women who have had a child and who have that belly skin and different things like that. So again, these are just things, being real, being raw. When you do transformation posts and things, do more than just the normal, this is where I was and this is where I am now for weight loss. Get emotional about it. Talk about the internal changes that you've made. And that's where, I didn't have a ton of weight to lose, so I don't have a huge weight loss transformation, but mine has been so much internal and so much about who I have become as a person. Since coaching came into my life, I'm a much better wife and mom and friend, and so much, so much different about me. And so that's, another just example of what I share. And again, sharing maybe what I'm doing at my desk and things like that. So letting them kind of get a glimpse of who is this person behind this story, and really letting them kind of get a piece into your life. All right. Top tip number 2 is being consistent and doing the unglamorous work. I don't even know if that's the word, but we're going to call it, we're going to call it a word. So obviously you guys see so many coaches being successful and having all these things called out and then being on the leaderboards and stuff. But they didn't get there just by doing nothing, right? They didn't just all of a sudden wake up and they got there. It's the behind the scenes stuff that really makes you successful. It's the annoying power hour every single day, or the messages you don't want to send, or the invites. It's so much about what's behind the scenes. And one thing that I have seen so much of, and talk to my coaches about a lot, is that we kind of get to this point where you hit success. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're either scared or you want to stop or you don't know what to do. And I see that so much with my coaches. And it could be, there's such a wide scale. It could be maybe you hit Success Club for the first time and you're like, holy cow, I can't do that again, because now those Success Club 10 points, that means 5 people that I have to support this month and I don't know how to do it, and then you freak yourself out, right? Or maybe you get to Diamond. I see this all the time. My girls get to Diamond and then they freak themselves out too. I can't be a leader. I'm not good enough. I can't do what you do. There's so many, different aspects of success, whatever your success is. And when you get there, I just want to encourage you guys to keep moving and just keep doing what you've been doing. You got there because you did these little things that got you to that place. You can't just abandon all of that once you get that little glimpse of success. And that is so true of all the coaches, the top coaches and stuff. They never stopped what they were doing, all the little things. Another thing that kind of goes along with this is you have to find a power hour that works for you. And I'm sure April has probably shared the tracker that I use. I don't know if she shared that one with you guys or not. But the one that I just made currently for my team is something that has been really helping. I just kind of revamped all the old ones that I had. I've gone back and forth between pen and paper and Teamsy and all kinds of stuff. But I am such a pen and paper girl by heart. And so I kind of designed that power hour around what I do. And so that is what I made. And I'll show you a screenshot of it in a second. But, and another thing to think about too is just to repeat your success. My girls do this when they're working for Star Diamond. I want them to push with whatever girl is pushing for Diamond to get her to Star Diamond. I want her to pretend like she's going to Diamond again and again, and you're going to go Emerald again and again. So think about it, break it down for yourself and make it something attainable. Don't make it bigger than it is. Don't make it scarier than it is. Don't make that success scary. You have to just kind of piece it back together and do the small things that got you there. You went Emerald one time, you can do it again. You went Diamond one time, you can do it again. It just takes the tiny baby steps that you did before. It doesn't take some huge, big action. Yes, it takes a good mindset, but it also takes those small steps of just the basics and the consistent things. So this is a glimpse of the Power Hour Tracker, which I know that you guys have, so I'll kind of skip through that pretty quickly. But, it's just a really great way. You just have to have something that motivates you. If you're not motivated by what you're using to track your business, then you will not do it. And believe me, that is kind of the place where I got when I made this tracker. I found myself not being as motivated as I needed to be. And I found myself skipping, leaving gaping holes in certain parts of my Power Hour because it was just the part that I just didn't want to do. And I wasn't super thrilled by it. And so I just kind of made myself something pretty. It looked better than what I had. And so this helps keep me so accountable because it's pretty and it's attractive. And to me, I like opening it up and filling in that sheet and turning it to the next page. And maybe that seems silly to you, but for me, I'm such a visual person that something that looks nice on a page is going to make me want to fill in all the spaces and check all the boxes and circle all the circles, so that I can say that I did it. So you got to be encouraged by whatever you're doing. So if this stresses you out, then use a random sheet of paper. That's totally fine. Or use Teamsy, use something online. But you've got to be, inspired and encouraged by it. Otherwise, it's hard to keep going. Okay, top tip number 3, and this is probably the biggest one / my favorite one. I love talking to new coaches. I love mentoring new coaches. I loved being a new coach. I'm, like I said, I'm a teacher at heart, and before I left my teaching job to stay full-time as a coach. And I, new coaches is such a vulnerable time. And so that's where it is so important for you to mentor them the best that you can. So that looks like having a really great Coach Basics program. And I'm sure you guys have an incredible one. There's so many different things that, everybody uses different programs, but there is, that defining factor of Coach Basics, which Beachbody has given us. And now with all this new First 30 and all that kind of stuff, there's so many good resources to get a new coach started, right? But that also starts with you just being in contact with them and loving on them and walking hand by hand with them, to help them get started on the right foot, because they are the people that bring in new blood and new life to your business. They are the new people who can, yes, help other people. But what I have always seen in my team is every time there's a new coach added, everybody just gets excited for them and welcomes them. And there's just this new, little zing of energy, right? So you can't stop bringing in new people, because once you do, then of course, you kind of lose that momentum, you lose that success and that excitement factor. So you have to continue to keep bringing in new people, but then you've got to support them. Your job is not just to bring them in and leave them out to dry. You have to support them. So for me, I have a Coach Basics program that I do with them. Now it kind of pairs in with the First 30 stuff for Beachbody, and then they go through a really great training module website that I have off-site. And then, message threads. I don't know if you guys are big on message threads. I'm pretty sure every Beachbody coach is. But, I kind of put my girls from the very beginning, not just in a thread with me, but in a thread with some other new coaches who I think that they could connect with. Maybe moms together. If I know that for a fact that maybe they're all stay-at-home moms, then I'm going to put them in a thread together, because they can connect. They can plan calls around, the same kind of times. If they're, working women, then I'm going to put them in a thread together. So you kind of see what I mean, but putting them in a place where they're going to feel like they fit in. To really be successful from the beginning. Support in your community and your team culture is so important. I'm sure you guys have seen that. I know April gives you guys a really great team culture. You guys are all so fun. So that is so important too, is really, 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 and talking up that team culture too, talking up that community. I talk about that all the time, probably way more than I need to, about my community of my team, about how I love my team and what they stand for and what we do on Wednesday nights, or, things like that. Talk of that community and really create that culture, because when somebody steps into your team, they feel that, right? And that's going to help you be successful. If your team, if they trust you as a leader, and if they can trust each other, and if they feel that support from the very, very beginning, that's going to be the defining factor between a coach who's going to stay and a coach who might leave because maybe they feel out of place. So it's your job to really create a really nice community and, good vibes in there. Recognition is huge, right? And there's so many different ways that you can do that. And I'm sure, again, that you guys do that as well. Recognizing, when they sell their first challenge pack, I'm always like, guess what? April helped our first person. That's freaking awesome, So, stuff like that, recognizing them for small things, not just obviously for Success Club points, but for, holy crap, April just sent her first Hey Girl message. Let's give her a hand, things like that, things that scare people. And you have to kind of learn your coaches too, they are the new people. It's like you're in a new relationship. I always talk about how, your coaches on your team, it really is like a relationship, like in your marriage or with a boyfriend or something. You kind of have to figure out their love language, right? And figure out how they feel connected to you the most. Are they might not be verbal affirmation. Maybe they need a little written note from you, or they need a little gift in the mail. It can be so many different things, but you got to figure out how to really support them best. And that starts from the very first second that they sign up as a coach. Okay, so let's keep moving. All right. Okay, this is back to the community thing, because that is, I really, really, truly believe, and that has been the cornerstone of how I have built my team, is community, is talking about what we are as a team, what we stand for, what we do. And, so yeah, like things like team calls and events and hangouts and things like that, and retreats and stuff. But for me, sharing about the community is the one thing that every single person that I sign up as a coach that comes into my team to stay is somebody who's searching for that. And that community could be, they need friendships, or maybe they need a place where they feel like they can just, release all of their emotions from the day and just feel like they're going to be accepted. This community as a whole of Beachbody is so powerful, and it has such a place for everybody, but nobody knows that unless you share about it. So you have to really talk about that so much in your posts, in your team, and, on your pages all the time. So if you're just talking about you and your health and fitness journey, that's great, but you've got to also talk about something bigger than you, right? We all kind of start with our why. We start with why we started, and a lot of times it's kind of that selfish why, that selfish, maybe you want to get out of debt, and it's okay to have those whys. For me, I desperately wanted to get out of teaching. I wanted to, not have to send my baby to daycare. And, I was going to bust my butt for those 8 months so that I could be home and not have to work. So that was my why at the beginning. But then you also have to kind of turn it around and find your mission, your mission for other people. And so that's where the community aspect comes into play. What do you want to do? Yes, you have something that you want to do for yourself, but what are you going to turn it around as? And how are you going to touch other people with it? And so that's something so important to share out there to other people, because that's what's going to pull somebody in. Somebody who's looking for that, friendship or that relationship or that accountability or that mentorship, somebody who's looking for something specific, you got to share it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to find those very, very specific people. Let me see if I missed anything on there. Yeah. Oh, this is one thing I want to say too. I don't know what range of coaches you guys are on. I don't know if you're leaders or if you're just a full range of coaches. But one thing also that I always try to point out to coaches who are newer or who maybe haven't started really building their own team yet, maybe you signed up a couple coaches, but you wouldn't say that you really have a team name or you don't have a team page or things like that. Sometimes, I feel like I get some of my coaches who get kind of overwhelmed and they're like, well, I don't really have a big business yet. I haven't really built this big community or anything like that. And that is such total BS, because you need to relate to, or, talk about your team. Yes, your upline team or your upline team, if your upline is not supportive or something like that, just talk about it in general as a whole, because what you're feeling and what you're moved by and why you're still here, part of your community and part of this business, just share about it in general terms. You have to assume that success, like you already have it. It doesn't matter if you're only a new coach or you're an emerald or whatever you think is not good enough. You have to assume that success is already there and share about it like it is. So I'm going to show you guys a couple examples in a minute of things when I was posting about sneak peeks into coaching and all kinds of stuff like a week into my into my journey as a coach, and they were so silly and everything, and I barely knew what I was doing. I had barely gotten through my new coach training, but I was talking like, I have been a coach for years and this is my team and all this kind of stuff. And you just have to be bold and just put it out there, right? And assume that success. Okay, so this was getting a family involved and stuff. I'm not really sure where, I think some of my pictures got out of whack because that has nothing to do with what I just talked about. But okay, it's a cute picture of my son though, right? Okay. Again, talking about sneak peeks and things like that, getting people into community, sharing, it's so good to share pictures of you, but also to share you and community with everybody else. It's not just the you show. And we say, put your face on everything. And that is so true. Put you behind everything. You want people to scroll your page and see your face and see what you're doing and what, be inspired by you. But it's so good to throw out there stuff about the community and stuff about your team and why your team is different. Why does somebody want to be on your team? Why would they want to be on, I can't remember your team's name, but why would they want to be on your team? What's so unique about you guys, right? And you have to share about it, all the time so that people really, really get that. Okay, this was like right after I became a coach. And I actually spelt sneak peek wrong the first time I posted it and had to repost it because I P-E-A-K, like a peak of a mountain. And I just went for it, you guys. This is like barely weeks into me becoming a coach. You just have to get it out there and start sharing about that community. Okay, this is another one talking about challenge groups and, doing a sneak peek into challenge groups. Okay, use your struggles for gains. So this is a really, really big one and something that has become a big point in my team because I have a lot of girls who will kind of they'll kind of have some excuses and things. Life gets hard, right? We're human and we have things going on. There's so much stuff that goes on in your life, from deaths in the family to pregnancies to losses to, they're in financial struggles. There's so much. And I myself have had quite my share of things that have happened in my life and in my family's life this year that I could have so easily just been like, you know what, like this is freaking ridiculous. I'm done with this right now. I can't make Beachbody a priority. Like I've got all this going on over here. This is so much more. Like this is just going to trump everything, right? There's so much that's always going to be happening. There's always going to be life. There's always going to be struggles and good things and bad things because we're just human. That's part of life. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop that doesn't mean you have to stop coaching and stop being a coach. Your struggles and your things, you have to use those for gains. And I don't mean like to flash them around and not be sensitive to things that are going on, but I mean, just be real and let people connect with you. Those moments, and I still think every single time that I share something that makes me feel like, okay, I got to close my eyes, I'm just going to push submit, anything that I ever post that's something that's super vulnerable, that is really kind of a breaking point for me, is always the time when I have so many women reach out who connect to me and who relate to me and who are like, I'm so glad you said that. I really needed to know that I was not the only one thinking this or feeling the same way. You have to remember that when you're feeling down or you're struggling with something, someone else is too, and someone else needs you to be able to share that so that they can all of a sudden feel comfortable enough to reach out to somebody to get some help, right? And to get some just support and have a friend to talk to. I always tell my team, I'm like, your job is to get uncomfortable, because when you do that, you make other people comfortable, and that's what makes them want to come to you, and that's what makes them have that relationship and that connection with you, and that is so important. So even though it's so hard to let struggles, to want to let them be your excuse, you just can't. You just have to keep pushing through, and you have to use those as a way to share. And what's so cool about it, and if you really think about it, if you let Beachbody do it, Beachbody really has the power to touch every single part of your life. It has the power to touch every single broken part of your life. Your community, your personal development has the power to completely transform your mind and the way you think about things and the way that you handle certain things that you go through. Exercise makes you feel better. It might make you a better wife or a better, a better husband or a better friend, a better parent. The community gives you that support that sometimes you need when you just feel like you're alone. You feel like nobody knows what you're going through, right? Beachbody has so many different things, and we just had a whole call on this not that long ago with my upline team about it. Really does every facet of it, every vital behavior of it has the power to touch every single part of your life. And in turn, you can use it as part of your story to touch other people. So that's one thing that I always try to not preach, but, share with my coaches, is to really use those little struggles and things that you have and use those as gains, use those to kind of get ahead in this business, not get ahead, but, get out there and talk to more people and relate to more people. So these were a couple different ones. My sister got diagnosed with cancer this year with lymphoma, and she's been fighting it for 6 months now. And so, some of those things I posted a graphic quote that I remade in WordSwag, because I was like, I do not feel like posting or sharing anything today, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy because this bomb just got dropped on us, but I'm still going to be here and just share that because of all the personal development and stuff that I have done, I am strong enough to fight through this, right? I'm strong enough to not let this cripple me. One night Hudson had literally not slept all night. So there's a picture of me looking totally thrilled, right? When I'm laying there. And then another one, it was a transformation or a throwback Thursday or something like that. Sharing about that very first picture that was ever taken of my husband and I versus being, at the elite red carpet walk this past summer at Summit, and just how completely different I am as a person. I was such a negative wife and so unhappy in so many different things. So I got really real and vulnerable and shared that. And was it uncomfortable? Absolutely. But was I able to connect with people? Yes. So again, just kind of using those things that I have struggled with and gone through to be a way to touch other people is so important, and not to just hide behind them. And then top tip number 6, another one is just asking for help. This is something that I have learned so much. I am such a type A, organized, like to have everything in order, do it myself kind of person. And I don't know if that's a teacher in me or just kind of how I'm wired, but over time, I've had to really humble myself and ask for help, whether that's outsourcing to an assistant to help me, or to, somebody to come and babysit my son for a day so that I can just catch up on stuff that's on this never-ending to-do list. Or, ask my husband to help run a couple reports in the back office for you. There's so many different things you can ask for help for. And again, when we get to that defining moment of, am I going to be successful versus not successful? It's like you look at this long list of all this stuff that you think that you're going to have to do, and you're like, I can't do that. I'm like, ask for help. Ask somebody to help you. Ask me to help you. Ask somebody to explain it to you. push it out to somebody else to, partner with you. So that's just one other thing too, is just to not be prideful and just to kind of, partner with other coaches or break down the work. Don't reinvent the wheel, ask for other people's advice and maybe what they've used if they have resources and such. There's so many different ways to get helpful tips and tools, so that you don't have to waste time on that kind of stuff. You can focus on on the most important kinds of things. So with that, that's pretty much all that I have, and I actually have another video too that I have recorded of these, and I feel like it was better than this, so I can share it with you guys too, but it was so late. But hopefully that kind of helps you guys a little bit. It's so important for you just to be you and to share your story all the time. And so when you're thinking, when you're posting, I constantly put my head through this filter of, okay, today, this is my day. This is what I want to share about. This is my blank slate for the day. This is my blank journal page. What can I share with people that's going to touch them in a way that they're going to, one, connect with me and know who I am and know what my morals and my values are, but also feel like they have somebody that they can connect with and feel like they have somebody that they have, something in common with. And I always tell my coaches, if you feel like you don't have anything to share, then sit there and think, what was I doing? What did I feel like? What was what was going through my head before I became a coach? And how do I feel today? Because I guarantee you, if you're still here as a coach and you still think of, and you can sit here and be on a call and be present in coaching activities, then there's a reason that you're still here, and you have to remember that all the time and share about that all the time. So if you're ever struggling to think about what can I really valuably share a lot of value with, on my page today, think about where you were. And it could be something, when you think about it that way, it doesn't have to be something financially or something huge. It can be the smallest thing. But for me, there's so many reasons why I am still here today, because of so many just emotional things, or and I don't even talk about financial stuff. It's all about who I am as a person. I'm so much more confident, and the introvert in me is slowly starting to slough off, and I'm getting more extroverted. There's so many different things that I love about myself that I can easily put into a post with some pretty picture and talk about what coaching has done for me and what it's done for my relationships and my physical ability and all kinds of stuff. So you got to think about that too. That's kind of a fun filter that I like to think of when I make my posts and stuff. So anyways, hopefully that helped a little bit. Does anybody have any questions? I can unshare so I can see you guys. I see some things in the chat box, but
thank you so much. I loved that. That was so good. And it's just such a good reminder to people, because I feel like too, after you've been a coach for a while, and it's often hard or easy to get off track of focusing on just being you and sharing the important part where people can connect with you. And I actually was just going through my post today and realized that I have been so bad at that lately. So I had scheduled a post to go up tonight about sharing my story and kind of being more real and raw, because nobody wants to see that you're just, celebrating yourself all the time. They want to know that you struggle. They want to know that you're real. So I love that. I just feel like, you can need that reminder at any part of your journey. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new coach or you've been doing it a while. It's easy to get off track. And so that's why a post schedule is so important as well. So you're knowing, okay, I'm going to do a story share or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Abby says, when you post to Facebook and Instagram, do you post the same thing at the same time, or do you wait a few hours in between social media platforms?
Is that to me or to you?
I don't know. Go ahead.
I do both. It's so funny because people ask me, they're like, what are your top tips? What are your secrets? I'm like, I'm such a normal Nancy. I don't have anything really fancy schmancy, I feel like. I post the same thing on all my social media sites. On my like page, I do some more, fitness related or mom related type articles and things that I usually get a lot of interaction on. But as far as Instagram and Facebook, if anything, maybe I'll make my Instagram post smaller, a little bit shorter and sweeter, and maybe I'll change the picture up. But I pretty much do the same thing on both handles. So maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but that's what I do, and it works for me. So what else? I see another question. Oh yeah, if it's too long. I go back and forth on that one and if a post is too long or not, because I personally have a lot of followers who are avid followers and they like to read what I have to say and they will read a longer post. Now I don't always make long posts. If I do on Instagram or I do on Instagram, I break it up with the page marks. I don't know if you guys know how to do that where you don't space after the period of so say you write a paragraph or a sentence, don't space after that period and then enter, put a period, and then enter again. And so that really breaks it up into little nice paragraphs. And that I do find that kind of helps them to continue reading, just like on Facebook too, if you have paragraphs, you break up your spacing a lot, it kind of helps to keep the eye rolling, doesn't get them too bored on one little thing. But I think it goes both ways. It kind of depends on who your followers are, though. If they're the quick, busy type people, then, having every single post being a long post, they're not going to look at that. And that's how I am, too. I'm like, oh, no. Or like the ones where you click at the very end and then it actually goes into a whole nother page because it's so long. A lot of people, I don't have a lot of people that read those long ones. But, you can kind of toss them in there. That's what I do. I kind of try to, do some more surface level type posts. And then I will do like a longer one that really lets them get a good glimpse into what I've been through and where I am now kind of thing, and then throw some more in there. So kind of just depends on what your preference is, and who your audience is for sure. Anything else? I don't see any other ones.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to let you get to bed. I know it's late. I really appreciate you hosting, and thank you guys so much for hopping on. And I will post the recording tonight. So tag your friends and coaches that need to see this because this is an awesome message. So have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us, Ashley.
No problem. Thanks, girl.